Running and Bible. Do they have anything in common? Are you a runner and perhaps not a Christian? Or are you a runner and Christian and perhaps even Christian and not a runner? Is it actually even possible to be Christian and not a runner? Well, that's not exactly the question I am going to answer today. But let's look at running in Bible. I love running. I have started when I was about 8 with my dad. Now I am 43 and I still run. True, there was a few years long gap in my 20s when I was too lazy to get out there, but then I started again. I'm kind of mid-packer. I don't run to win. I don't actually hate competitions. I simply run because I like it. I run about 3,000 kilometers a year. That's about 2,000 miles. I run 6 days a week pretty much all year long. Running is my good old friend. I love my Bible too. I read it pretty much every day all year long. So how do these important things, these things that are my good friends, how do they combine? It's kind of funny. I feel like they interact a lot and they are important combinations. So let me share with you how. Before we go to Bible to see what it actually has to say about running, and wait for it, there is actually a lot, I'm going to start on a personal note. Running is kind of meditation for me. Running is when I'm out there with no distractions, focused inwards. Running is when I feel like God is near to me. When I have a problem, when I have something that I need to solve, I tend to focus on it really hard. I think about it, I pray for it, I listen for an answer, and frequently no answer comes. But then when I'm out there not thinking about anything, when the exhaustion kicks in and my brain just shuts down and focuses simply on the running, the answer is suddenly there, right in front of me. And since I'm Christian, I feel like God is speaking to me in His strange ways. Perhaps He is a runner too. Well, perhaps He is not. But if you are a Christian and you are not a runner, you should be. Well, I'm just joking, but you should have something in your life that's kind of similar, that lets your brain wander and God speak to you. Let's now see if Bible has anything to say about running. And it does. There is a surprising number of verses that speak about running, and some of them are really a treat, especially for us. My favorite one is the beginning of Hebrews 12. It says, "Therefore, since we are surrounded by so a great a cloud of witnesses, let us also lay aside every weight and sin which clings so closely, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us, looking to Jesus, the founder and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is seated at the right hand of the throne of God." It says, let us run with endurance the race that is set before us. I ran close to 10 ultramarathons. All of them were over 100 kilometers. That would be more than 70 miles long. Some of the longest ones took me more than 24 hours to finish. That would be 24 hours of constant moving. I honestly think that having that experience of pain and my body telling me to stop helps me to appreciate this verse tremendously. It also says, lay aside every weight and sin. In some of the longest unsupported races, I ran with up to 6 kilograms. That would be more than 14 pounds of food, water, and clothing. And let me tell you that every pound counts. It's a big difference to run with 14 pounds on your back versus running completely free without any such weight. So Paul's image of sin being a weight that clings to us during a run makes a lot of sense to me. Galatians 5 says, "You were running well, who hindered you from obeying the truth." This is one of a few verses that liken Christian life to running. You were running well is Paul's way of saying that you were living a good Christian life. I wonder if Paul himself was a runner. Yes, I know he probably wasn't, but I suspect that if he lived today, he would be into ultramarathons. He comes across as a sturdy, hardcore guy. He was beaten repeatedly, imprisoned many times, traveled thousands of miles, and still kept going. In 1 Corinthians 9, we read, "Do you not know that in a race all the runners run, but only one receives the prize? So run that you may obtain it. Every athlete exercises self-control in all things. They do it to receive a perishable wreath, but we an imperishable. So I do not run aimlessly. I do not box as one beating the air, but I discipline my body and keep it under control, lest after preaching to others I myself should be disqualified." I have to admit that this verse is not exactly my cup of coffee or tea, whichever you prefer. I am not the kind of runner that would be racing to win, that would be racing for a podium. I have already mentioned that. If I'm ever competing with anyone, it is me against me. The lazy me against the not so lazy me. The me that would like to give up against me that says I should stick and push through. The me that whispers sweetly that I can stay in the warm bed, that nothing is going to happen if I skip my run today, against me trying to get me out of my bed. The end of the section is quite interesting. I discipline my body and keep it under control. Yes, sometimes it is a challenge to get up and get out of the door on a cold rainy morning when the whole house is still sleeping. Seems to me Paul would get up and he would get out, and he encourages us to do so in whatever it is we do, in whatever it is we ought to do. I have just realized that we have not mentioned anything from the Old Testament yet about running. So let's have a look at one of the proverbs out of the book of Proverbs that has running as one of its elements. It's Proverbs 4:12. "When you walk, your step will not be hampered, and if you run, you will not stumble." So this is promise from God to his faithful. So next time I'm running through the woods, there is my promise, no stumbling. Of course, we all know that it is slightly more complicated than that. As Haruki Murakami, a famous Japanese writer and avid runner, once said, "I will be happy if running and I can grow old together." And I would extend that. I will be happy if running, I and God will grow old together. Except that I think God is actually not going to grow old in the process. It's going to be just me and my running. But I hope that God is going to be present in my running in the years to come. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this little rant on the topic of running and Bible, and see you next time.